For Chapter 8 of SRW OG1, we're first shown a bunch of old men within the Amazon army argue between themselves about using LTG as a psychological weapon. They then decide to have Elzem invade the Project SRX base. We're then traumatized by some weird remarks between Garner and Jada about whipping it out, and then we're given control of everyone. We're then given control of Ingram and Wildschwein, which is actually a pretty solid mech and a decent pilot. His downside is that he doesn't get focus wall, but both him and the Wildschwein's innate high stats more than makes up for it. This is the first chapter where we actually make some meaningful decisions about our approach, and will fail the mission if any enemy reaches a dedicated spot. This is also the first, but definitely not the last chapter where we don't have the skill point condition revealed at the start. Bear in mind that you can fail the skill point condition even if you didn't reveal it. This will become a huge pain in the ass later. The enemy here is split into the northern part and the western part. We'll have access to reset first, and most of our units are in weak dispense. For my first attempt, I move everyone to the north, try to get some counters in. The enemy arrives alongside Elzem, and the skill point condition is finally revealed to be destroy all enemies, other than Elzem, within 5 turns. But the enemy to the west proved to be too fast for me to handle, and we got our first game over of the run. For the second attempt, I learned from my mistake and sent Aya to the south point. Her job is to spam focus and delay everyone till the reinforcement arrives. The Hagane, our battleship for this game, arrives, but I took too long, and I had to bet on Rai counter-killing enemies during the final enemy phase for the mission point. But the AI in this game decides to just ignore Rai and do nothing, failing the mission point. For my last attempt, I sent Rai straight to where the reinforcement will appear and just leave Kai to remove everyone that already exists on the map. Relying on Hagane's bullseye, we finally clear all the enemies within 5 turns. Elzem then decides to leave after dropping another missile on us, but unlike the last mission, Ruse received the R1 and shoots down the missile in midair. I'm not sure how that works, but you know. Team SRX then decides to set sail in the Hagane on the mission to defeat Amazon and bring back the mom and pop shop. The Hagane then ran into a few underwater submarine ambushes within the Pacific Ocean. In order to not become another Titan submersible situation, Captain Daitetsu then decides to use the overboost feature and run away from the ambush. Chapter 9 is more linear underwater map, where we only get to control the Hagane, making it a very straightforward map. The Hagane has a decent hit rate underwater against the nuclear subs, a fact that will not be true for long. The mission point condition here is to defeat all the enemies, so we just use Wall twice to reduce the damage we take and throw ourselves in the middle of all the nuclear subs, and have Hagane's impact cannon take care of everything. The Hagane then leaves the ocean with the amount of Gs that will probably crush everyone in the ship to a pulp. We then reach the military base Marcus Island, and a few of the DC members attack the base. Latuni also got a unique sprite this chapter, and which is super cute. But being Nerm saw Latuni and is promptly asked to take a seat over there by Chris Hansen. I moved Latuni out the plane and into Expense so she can have at least some use in combat. This proved to be very useful as we really lacked enemy phase dodge units, and Latuni can basically tank everyone with a focus. Chapter 10 features a few weak lions at first, but since the objective here is to defeat all the enemies by turn 4, we need to throw every unit in the enemy lines. This is the map where we first saw Hagane's shaky hit rates. Ruse's sorties in the Wild Raptor, which whilst isn't a very good mech, but is more dodgeable than the Expense. The boss of this chapter, Tempest, is actually pretty difficult compared to other units on this map. He deals big damage against most units, able to one-shot them, so you have to rely on flash and player phase for Hagane to support defense on the enemy phase. I bundle everyone up by the Hagane and slowly reduce his health down to a few thousand, but as the fight goes on, we're also running out of SP, so I decided to gamble with an 11% hit impact cannon from the Hagane. It hits and we defeat Tempest, proving that 50% of the time, it hits all the time. At the end of the chapter, Ruse and Kuzuha meet up and talk about each other and how both of them got roped into joining the army. We're also shown Ruse's character development, where he understands Kuzuha's reason for fighting and supports her, which is, honestly, pretty sweet.